What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Hey. Welcome in, everybody, to episode 196. I am your host, Sleazeball. Today's episode is going to be my Dynasty top 36 running back rankings headed into 2025. So the 2024 season has come to an end. I am not going to put the rookies in there yet because there's going to be a lot of moving parts in free agency, a lot of moving parts in the draft with trades, etc., stuff like that. But I will put my top 5 rookie running backs that I like coming into the class at the bottom, and I'll talk about them a little bit here. And I'm not going to predict their landing spots because I don't know how it's going to play out yet either. Now, before we dive into it, guys, as always, make sure you smash that like, make sure you hit that subscription, turn that bell on. Tomorrow, I will be revealing the winner of round 1 for the $100 giveaway as well. And we're going to go over a live show of round 2 divisional playoff matchups and stuff like that. So I hope to see you guys in there. And if you guys have any questions ever about dynasty trades like that stuff, because dynasty is year round, you can always drop anything down below. Although I do recommend not trading right away, again, because there's going to be so many moving parts. So you could lose a lot of value in a trade you make right now. Now let's dive into my 2025 dynasty running back rankings. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my running back tier. So baller tier at the top, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. And remember, guys, this is going to be dynasty. So age is going to play a part here as well. And you have to look at contracts and stuff like that. So I'm going to take a little longer here to describe each player and why I have them where I rank them at heading into next season right now. And for trades you should be looking at and what value you should be looking to trade the player for. So remember, I said the rookies are not going to be in it here, so you're going to see Gene T down here. Man, I would love to see him go to the Cowboys. That'd be everyone's fantasy football dream. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa as well. Quinshawn Judikins, I don't want to get his name wrong. Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson, who looks absolutely amazing. And Ohio State looks on their way to a national championship. I think they're going to beat Notre Dame as well, which is really going to raise their draft capital even more. Now, heading into the rankings here, guys. Number 1, the absolute fantasy football demon, Jahmyr Gibbs, finishes the season as RB1 with 362.9 points. Now, could have Saquon Barkley beaten him if he played the last game and went for the record? Of course, he could have. They were about a 7-point split there. So you could say Saquon's the RB1. I mean, Saquon was absolutely amazing as well. But what you have to look at with Jahmyr Gibbs is David Montgomery is always going to be there, right? But when you see what happens in week 15 when David Montgomery goes down. So if you look through week 1 to week 15, you still have Jahmyr Gibbs at RB5, David Montgomery at RB9. They're behind the number 1 offensive line, right? And then David Montgomery takes his injury in week 15 at Buffalo, and Jahmyr Gibbs goes for 28, 25, 26, 47, wins you the fantasy football championship. Him and Jonathan Taylor were running back 1 and 2 down the stretch. They were absolutely phenomenal. And with him being age 22 heading into next year, you have to look at Jahmyr Gibbs as your RB1. And if I own him, I'm not accepting 3 first-round picks for him. That is how valuable Jahmyr Gibbs is to me in fantasy football. Number 2 is going to be Bijan Robinson, who finished right behind him at running back 3 on the season. He dropped a 341.7 points on the year in PPR. But with Bijan Robinson, he could have shattered these numbers. He could have had an even better season. So if you look at the first 5 games of the season, there was a lot of Tyler Algier usage. He wasn't even getting 70% snap shares besides week 1 and week 3, right? So week 1 and week 3, he doesn't even break 20 points there yet. They don't really have the new coaching system in. And then bang, week 6 hits against Carolina, the worst run D there is probably in a long time for a defense. And what happens? He goes 25, 23, 23, 21, 29, has a bad game against Denver in week 11 before the bye. And then it's just 20-point average from there on. 25, 20, 14, 24, 24, 31. Absolute monster in fantasy football. He's going to be even better next year now that they have it figured out. And he's the same age as Jahmyr Gibbs at 22. And they have the number 1, 2, and 3 line between Atlanta, Philly, and the Lions. You have to love Bijan Robinson at running back 2 in Dynasty. Now, running back 3, if you subscribe to my channel, you know anything about me, Twitter, everything like that. Devon the Hurricane Etienne is my guy. He is going to be my running back 3 in Dynasty as of right now. And what you have to look at with Devon Etienne, right? So all I was told all year long was he can't, secure the load. He's too small. He's too injury prone. Every excuse there was in the book is used for Devon Etienne and the Dolphins offense, right? So he finishes as RB5 with a terrible offensive line because his receiving work is absolutely phenomenal, guys. So he still almost rushed for 1,000 yards at 907, but he had 78 receptions for 592 yards to go along with it. So another, a 1,500-yard campaign, a 12 TD campaign as well. Seeing the red zone work, Raheem Mostert was not what people thought he was going to be, just like I figured as well. Heading into age 32, he's had injury prone galore, careers, why they probably brought in Jalen Wright as well in the draft. And I think Jalen Wright's going to supplant Raheem Mostert as the backup running back next year. So if you are going to be drafting HN like I am going to be looking to pick up Jalen Wright right behind him no matter what, because the running back in Mike McDonald's system is always absolutely phenomenal, guys. Now, running back number 4, one of the biggest busts for the ADP on the season last year was Breece Hall. And there's no way around it at all. Breece Hall did not have a Breece Hall year. He finished at RB16 with 240.9 points. And it was like the Aaron Rodgers, they brought in everybody that they could, and it didn't work out. It's just one of those things. I don't think that Breece Hall is a bad running back in any single way, shape, or form. The coaching staff was completely lost. And even if you're looking at it, he only had one game over 100 yards rushing, which is absolutely bonkers to me. But when you're looking ahead here, he was playing 48, 62, 49% of the snaps down the stretch. The Jet season was pretty much over. They could be saving their guy for the next year. Of course, that's another thing you have to look at as well here. Now, what I would be doing when I'm looking at Breece Hall here for dynasty value, I'd be trying to trade for him as low as I can right now, because this is probably as low as it's going to be for Breece Hall at age 23 in the next 2 to 3 years. So, you still have to wait depending on what happens to the Jets QB situation. They could draft one. Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, whatever. There's free agents out there. They could be making a play there as well. But I'm still not giving up hope on a great running back like Breece Hall just because one bad year and the team. Well, it's not really a bad year if you're running back, 16, but it's not up to his standards. So I'm not running away from Breece Hall at all. I'm still trying to acquire him everywhere I can. My running back 5 in Dynasty, I love this one, man. I took so much shit when the season started, when I was like, dude, these running back class in 2024, there's a reason that the first running back off the board was drafted in the second round of Jonathan Brooks. That was not a good running back class. Not to say that they're not pro athletes, not going against them or anything like that. This is Kyren Williams. It's a CMC number running back that is in a Sean McVay system where he is never going to come off the field. He is the glue to this offense. And if you don't know that by now, and you're still a Blake Corum guy, you need to get that through your head, because Blake Corum is going to be a handcuff for the next 2 to 3 years behind him till he probably hits 27, 28 years of age, where the running back position gets a little different here. Now, Kyren Williams was RB7 with 272.1, even puts a little receiving work in at 182 receiving yards as well. And you got to see that, like, he is 68% is the lowest snap share he plays. That's the lowest on the season. So if I were to look at James Cook never even played a 68% snap share once. This is how much usage Kyren Williams gets. I know it's kind of in your mind, it's like it's unsustainable, but this guy's work ethic, if you ever watch any of his YouTube videos or any of the shows he joins as a guest and stuff like that, this man is just a workaholic and always trying to be the best. And I want every piece of Kyren Williams I can get right now that I can trade for, possibly, if he's available or people, don't have faith in him. Number 6 is still going to be Saquon Barkley. He's still going to be in my elite tier. I know he is aged 27 years, right? In Dynasty, that's where you start to panic a little bit. But look at Derrick Henry, man. Look what Derrick Henry just did at age 31. Saquon Barkley is a freak of nature running back. This guy just had 355.3 yards. He 2,000 plus yards, would have broke the rushing record if they didn't sit him. And it would have been ironic if he would have broke the rushing record against his own team, the New York Giants, at the end. I thought that would have been really tight. But of course it doesn't happen. They save him for the playoffs. And this guy had like 7 runs of 60 plus yards, which is unheard of. You don't find running backs with breakaway speed this big type body, 3-down back work like he has, he's probably, I mean, him and Derrick Henry maybe the only ones left in the NFL at this point. And god damn, I'm still looking to acquire Saquon Barkley in Dynasty right now because he's still got 2 to 3 good years left. Headed on to tier number 1 here, number 7, and this one with Jonathan Taylor. Like I said earlier, I know he won fantasy championships down the stretch, right? And he is a superstar running back, but he's always going to have that missed 3 to 4 games, get nicked up here. So if you look at it for this year, missed 4 games, right? Then you go back to 2023, misses the first 4 games, comes back, gets healthy, misses 3 games again, and then you go look at 2022. Misses 2 games, comes back, misses another game, gets hurt, comes back for 3 more games, gets hurt, misses the rest of the season. So Jonathan Taylor is a superstar. If he was ever to put together just a 16, 17 game season, I mean, you're looking at a top 3 running back, top 3 to 5 running back behind Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Bijan, Etienne, and all these guys. This is exactly where Jonathan Taylor should be. He's still only 25 years of age. The Colts are looking to, between Anthony Richardson, they say there's going to be a new QB battle coming. That could help them as well. I do like the RPO, mix of Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor together, kind of like the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry look. But still, they have a great offensive line. And Jonathan Taylor is going to be a good running back for 2 to 3 years here still in Dynasty. Number 8, the rookie phenom of them all, Bucky Irving. And I missed on this one big time, guys. I was not, like I just said at the beginning, I was not high on this running back class. I think that'd be a timeshare between him and Rashad White, which it was for most of the way till the end when they realized that Bucky was the guy at about week 12. So when you're looking at it, Bucky Irving finished the season as a rookie at RB 13, the best value you got off the waiver wire, if possible, in some of your leagues, right? So when you're looking at it, he had 1,000 yards rushing, 5.42 yards per carry. He even put up 392 yards in the receiving game, so almost a 1,500 yard season for the rookie. And the first 10 weeks of the season, he never played over 50% of the snaps. And then after week 12, he never even played over 60% of the snaps. This is all in limited work at RB 13. Now, you have to look ahead here as well. You're on your rookie contract. Then you have to look at Rashad White, who's a free agent in 2026. So this is probably Rashad White's last year with Tampa. Could they bring in another running back in 2026 or 2025 to the draft? Of course they could. There's always depth pieces that could be added, but this guy in open space is a spectacular superstar, and you have to love Bucky Irving. You have to be trading for him. Man, you probably got to throw more than 2 firsts to get him right now with how good he looks. Running back number 9, I don't want to hear any more about James Cook. Doesn't get touchdowns because that was his only downfall last year when I was super high on him. And look what happens this year. He's RB8. He's second in touchdowns behind Derrick Henry with 16. And this is another Bucky Irving type looker because he was hampered with a foot injury almost since like week 8 or 9. So when you're looking at James Cook, he plays 60% of the snaps for the first couple weeks of the season. He's balling out 13, 30, 20, 17 points, right? Then he gets hurt in week 6, right? The New York Jets. Then the injury lingers all season long, and he never plays 60% of the snaps again. But he still finishes as RB9. And then you see the playoff game, and you see him explode. You see him back healthy. This man is a superstar running back at 25 years old. Still in my top 10 in Dynasty. Still has a good 2 to 3 years left in him as a high-end talent running back here. Number 10, man, I feel really bad for Josh Jacobs, man. The Green Bay Packers kind of backed into the playoffs. He played his heart out, man. He played really, really good in that playoff game as well, too. And look at this guy during the season, man. He had a 7-game stretch where he had 20 straight points. He had a 10 out of 11 game stretch where he had 20 straight points. I mean, the man was absolutely phenomenal for Green Bay. That's why they gave him a 4-year, $48 million contract, which is what you have to like in Dynasty when he's 26. You know you're going to have him for another good 2 to 3 years here as the guy. Will Green Bay bring in someone? Could we see Marshawn Lloyd finally be healthy? Yeah, we could. I was never really high on Marshawn Lloyd with his fumbling problems either way. Josh Jacobs, superstar running back that you should be trying to acquire still in Dynasty, regardless of age. Number 27 is going to be Kenneth the K9 Walker. And he's like that guy that's just like Jonathan Taylor to me. Now, Kenneth Walker is one of my favorite running backs to watch when he's out there healthy. And he just turned age 24 like a couple weeks ago, I believe, or like almost a month ago. So you're going to have him turning 25 in the 2026 season, right? Which is nice. But when you have Kenneth Walker, you have the electric running back, but you have him one game and he misses 2 games and he plays 5 games and he misses 2 games and he plays 2 games, then he misses 2 games. So, he missed 6 games on the season this year, ended up on IR at the end of the year. And you go back to last year, he misses 3 games there, gets injured as well. Then you go 2022, he misses 3 games there. So he's just like a Jonathan Taylor type, gets little knick-knack injuries. This year was also obviously a little worse down the stretch, ending up on IR for the first time in his career. But, man, he's so electric when he's out there. This offense, I can't believe they fired Grubb. That was crazy to me. I don't know who the new offensive coordinator coming is going to be, but I really liked what they had going with the 10-win season. I thought that was a crazy firing, and I still like Kenneth Walker as my RB11 in Dynasty. RB12, talk about the steal of the draft right here. So depending on where Chase Brown fell in your draft, you could say Bucky Irving was the best waiver wire pickup. Chase Brown was probably wavered in some 10-man leagues, stuff like that as well. Now, Chase Brown in the Bengals offense, if they keep T. Higgins, they get Jamar Chase, they still got Gesicki. I really liked Eric Hall out of Iowa, that he'd be a nice offensive piece as well if he could stay healthy for next year. Look at what this man did, right? So Chase Brown, in fantasy football, is your RB10 overall in the season with 255 fantasy points, right? But Chase Brown, for the first 5 weeks, did nothing. He was a 30%, 40%, 20%, 24%, 20%, 30% snap share. That's terrible. So to go from week 5, then hit the New York Giants week 6, you start to get your 60% snap share. Then about week 8, he's back down to 50%. And then in week 9, they find out that Chase Brown is your guy. Obviously, Zach Moss got hurt. He was splitting a little work with Zach Moss to start the season. But look what this guy does from week 9 on. Week 9, he goes Las Vegas 26, 22, 19, 20, 24, 26, 13, 13. Almost averaging 20 points a game through fantasy football down the stretch. Obviously, week 18 at Pitt, he got hurt again, wasn't out there. That's that weird, I'm going to take a knee first play and hurt my own ankle at the problem there. They still won the game. They still didn't make the playoffs because of the Chiefs. But could Zach Moss be there next year? He had a 2-year, $10 million contract in the offseason, so he'll still be there. Will they use him at the same rate that they did at a 50-50 split? No, I do not think so. Could they move on from Zach Moss? That's a possibility as well. Could they look to get younger in the draft, add a bigger back in the draft, something like that? This is a very good running back class of rookies. All this could be possible. But if Chase Brown is the solo guy out there, they don't add anybody and they keep Zach Moss as your complimentary running back piece, Chase Brown is going to be a top 10 running back next year, 100%. And he's going to be my number 12 dynasty running back. The man's only still 24. So does his size worry me a little bit? Yes. But, man, he looked like he could handle the workload, and he looked absolutely amazing. I'm still enamored by Chase Brown. I'm going to keep him at RB12 in dynasty. Heading down to tier 2, running back number 13, Tyrone Tracy, my guy out of Iowa. I'm an Iowa fan. That's where I was born, so the family's from. That's why I was, you could say, biasly sleeper high on him. But he was an older rookie coming out, something you have to look at as well. So he was 24 coming out as a rookie, transferred all over the place in college, and now he just turned 25. So you're going to have a 25-year-old back for the New York Giants who are going to need a quarterback. They're probably going to be looking to get Shedeur Sanders. I don't really think Shedeur Sanders is really an elite quarterback like people think that will be at the NFL level, but I could be wrong there. I said the same thing about Caleb Williams last year, and that was because the coaching staff. Caleb Williams did not pan out at all like people thought it was going to happen. Now, when you're looking at Malik Neighbors with this offense, they need so many things to happen, but he's so good in the receiving game as well that it's kind of like a Devon Etienne situation here. Obviously not as good as Devon Etienne, but a situation like that where, their offensive line may struggle next year as well. They're going to try and find pieces. They have cap space. They're going to try and draft, everything like that. But they need so much to happen to be relevant that he's still going to be effective in the passing game regardless. So he had over 1,000 yards as a rookie, as a 5th-round rookie that wasn't supposed to be anything, drafted really, really late in your dynasty draft, probably round 4 or round 5 if you had did a startup or something like that. And he was an absolute steal. I mean, there's no way around saying that Tyrone Tracy was not an absolute steal in fantasy football for the value that he gave you. So he ended up at RB26 with 182 points. But again, you have to look at the first 4 weeks of the season. He plays 20% of the snaps on average. it scores 1 point, 0 points, 6 points, and 3 points. That's 10 points for the first 4 games. Obviously going to hurt his season average, right? Then you see week 5, they start to use him. Then he gets 14 points. Then his snap share goes up. Then he gets 22 points. So Tyrone Tracy is very electric. He was a wide receiver also in college. So you're going to get 3 to 4 years and maybe even more with the pass down work. He could be like an Austin Eckler as he gets 29, 30, age like that out of the backfield because, he's not going to be pounding up the middle with his size at, 5'11", 210. But I still like him a ton in Dynasty and a great acquisition if you can get him for cheap. Now, running back number 14, King Henry. This guy is just defies father time over and over. He's like the LeBron James of football. RB4 on the year, 336.4 points, 17 rushing touchdowns. Him and Lamar Jackson's RPO was absolutely disgusting. They are still chasing a Super Bowl as of right now. And the Ravens-Bills game is like the game I cannot wait to see. It's absolutely going to be probably the best game of the week by a mile. Now, when you're looking at Derrick Henry and you're thinking, oh, well, he's, just turned 31. Are you going to doubt him again next year at age 31? He just turned 31 on January 4th. And I know that because I put that tweet out a couple weeks ago or whatever. And 32 points, 24 points, 21 points. This is down the stretch. This is the end of the season at age 31 against Pittsburgh, Houston, and Cleveland defenses. That is telling me right there, you don't need to worry about father time with him probably for another year or two here. I'd still be looking to acquire him because the man just put up 1,921 rushing yards, 193 receiving yards, a 2,000-yard total season with 18 touchdowns. And you're going to have the same thing next year. I'm still looking to get Derrick Henry, even though he's old. I do not care. I'm done doubting this guy, and father time, he is him. It's time to get risky. Number 15, Christian McCaffrey. Now, this one I want to talk about here for like a little bit here. So, because I'm a 49er fan, obviously, I like this a lot more, right? So, CMC cost people their fantasy seasons if you drafted him at number 1. So, like I was in the Scott Fishbowl, I flew to Vegas, did the draft there. Drafted CMC at the number 2. Still ended up in round 3 of Scott Fishbowl playoffs. I coached my ass off, but it is very tough when you don't get to use your number 1 pick for the first 9 weeks of the season. And then he comes back and he's not the same CMC. You can tell by the usage, even though he got 16, 14 points there, nothing great. And he's hurt again. And he's got Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs and flying to Germany and everything. And he's 28 years old. There's just something about this guy and his injuries that I just don't doubt him. And he's so versatile across the field that I'm still, if I can acquire him right now for, say early second round pick or late first round pick or 2 seconds or a second and third, I am doing this. I am doing this because you can probably get Garendo for cheap. You can probably get Jordan Mason for cheap. The running backs that are going to fit the Shanahan system behind him either way. So these are the smart kind of moves you have to make in Dynasty. But looking at this, and this system is phenomenal and a year off of healthiness, and CMC is going to come back. And I swear to God, everyone's going to be drafting him or avoiding him. And he's going to come back and just be that guy. I just have that gut feeling. Obviously, his injury risk is very high. Again, still, it's Christian McCaffrey. I'm not running from it. Number 16, David Montgomery, man. This guy is just a monster. Just absolutely Dan Campbell's guy. Running back 18 on the year, 221 points. So, and you got to picture that as he missed the last 4 games. So 221 points. Let's add, his average of about 16, 17 points to that. He's almost a 300-point running back. He's almost a top 6, top 8 running back. And he was running back 9 on the season before his injury hit in week 15. I mean, it's just one of those things with him. You're like, well, do I really want to own this guy? He's older. He's turning, I believe he turns 28 coming up this year. Still, I mean, you're looking at a guy that's going to get 20 touches a game in the number 1 offense, or he just turned 27. Sorry, he'll turn 28 in the following season. But still, I'm getting a guy that plays 50% of the snaps. They don't blow his body out. They have Jahmyr Gibbs. They have the best line. They've got Goff locked up. Amon-Ra locked up. This Laporte on a rookie contract. They're not going anywhere for 2 to 3 years. And David Montgomery's going to be a top 15 running back for 2 to 3 years. And people run because of age. That is a huge mistake. I still like to acquire David Montgomery. and he's my RB16 in Dynasty. RB17 is going to be Alvin Kamara, and this one's kind of tricky here. So, and there's really nothing to say about Kendre Miller. Like, I know that Kendre Miller is young and TCU and the injuries have had him, but the injuries just keep happening to him. So maybe if the Saints look a different direction in the draft, you could see that happening. He did get his contract extension, so you're fine there. And you also get the receiving work. He's probably not going to get, the 20 plus touches like Alvin Kamara of 2020, next year. But you're still going to get probably 400 to 500 receiving yards on top of it in PPR. That's what you want. Now, if he gives you 700 rushing yards and 600 receiving yards with, 7 touchdowns, that's fine because his value is probably going to be a lot lower heading into next year because he is heading into age 30. That's when people start to panic. If I'm still a contending team in Dynasty, I'm still looking, looking to snag Kamara for cheap from the owner, or however you could probably package a couple pieces that are younger, looking for the future, and then, like a Troy Franklin with like a third, or Troy Franklin, plays like that. That's what you have to look at. Alvin Kamara is still going to be viable next year in fantasy football. Number 18, man, this one, I still, it's like Chuba Hubbard, man. It's like, hard, do I trust it, right? Chuba Hubbard is 25 years old. He was the fantasy darling this year, right? Jonathan Brooks never made it back from the injury. When he did, he went right back down with another non-contact injury, and they've already said that his 2025 season is over. So Chuba going to be that guy. You might have Miles Sanders back. We don't know what they're going to do there. Or Raheem Blackshear, that could be another opportunity, another guy behind him. But dude, Chuba Hubbard was a fantasy, like he won fantasy championships. He put people in the playoffs. He was RB14 on the year, and he missed the last 2 weeks of the season. So or I guess the last week of the fantasy football championship, unless your league goes into week 18. If your league goes into week 18, getting a new fantasy league, that's not smart. But so look at it in the week 1, right? You were like, oh shit. Chuba Hubbard's had 1 point. And everyone was like panicking. Should I drop him? Should we trade him? What do I do with Chuba? Then he goes 11, 27, 20, 17, 15, 11, 9, 21, 24. He just goes off. This guy had a phenomenal fantasy football season. Dave Canales, the new head coach, has figured it out with Bryce Young a little bit. He looked better after the Andy Dalton benching. I really like Chuba Hubbard heading into next year. But again, he's that guy. They do have Jonathan Brooks. Do I trust him all the way through Dynasty? No. But I love Chuba Hubbard next year. That's why I have him at 18 just in Dynasty. In redraft, I will have him higher. Number 19, I called this one, man. Isaiah Pacheco's injury. So when Isaiah Pacheco went down, I said when he comes back, he will not score 10 points in fantasy football again the rest of the season. And I got kind of clowned out on Twitter. Look at this, man. He came back in week 13, played the Raiders. Easy matchup, 5 points. Week 14 against the Chargers, 8 points. Cleveland, 5 points. 16 against Texans, 3 points. Pittsburgh, 1 point. Never saw over 15 carries, never rushed for over 56 yards. Was never found the end zone. If you look at the injury that he had and you look at Jalen Waddle's injury, which is the exact same from the year before, Jalen Waddle is still not the same now. Now, I know Pacheco's 25, but the injury that you have with the style that he runs, and he runs like a freight train, right? Everyone knows this. He runs as hard as you can. I love Pacheco's running style. I love watching him play. It is always dangerous, though. And the injury that he has is so massive that I don't think I'll even be drafting him next year in the redraft. Obviously, if you own him in Dynasty, you could, I'm going to say second half surge next year is what's going to happen with Pacheco. He's going to play injured through the postseason this year. Chiefs always a contender, right? Patrick Mahomes, they're the Chiefs. Next year, get healthy in the offseason, still be a slow start to the season, and then you'll see him explode kind of down the second half like you're going to see with Jalen Waddle here, or like Jalen Waddle did this year, because he didn't really have that explosive look till late in the season. So I'm still going to keep Pacheco at 19, and it's tough. Number 20 is going to be Joe Mixon. The guy is just relentless at football. It's just crazy to me. And the win that they got in the playoffs was absolutely huge. I did not see the Texans winning that game against the Chargers, man. I had the Chargers. I was going heavy on them. But when you're looking at Joe Mixon, so he's 28, right? And you're like, oh, man, Dynasty, he's old. I don't really want to touch Joe Mixon. I would understand that. He was RB 17 on the season. He did miss 3 games at the beginning. Minnesota, Jacksonville, Buffalo between week 3 and week 5. And then down the stretch, and this is all with a terrible offensive line in Houston. This is what they have to focus on heading into next year, because CJ Stroud cannot be sitting back there for 1 second and be getting pressured by everyone. So when you're looking at Joe Mixon, he's got 28. He got the contract. He's still going to be viable 1 to 2 years. That's why I have him low. If you're a contending team right now in Dynasty, I'm still keeping him for 1 more year. If I'm not contending in Dynasty right now and my team, it's not going to, I'm selling Joe Mixon. That's official, 100%. Running back number 21, B. Rob Jr. And it's gotten weird with the Commanders down the stretch here. So Brian Robinson, he was shot last year, came back, looked great, right off being shot, which is the best you can look. And when I'm looking at Brian Robinson Jr., and the Commanders' offense with Jaden Daniels, which is absolutely electric, probably my number 1 target at quarterback next year is going to be 100% Jaden Daniels. I mean, they're going to get him more weapons to go along with Terry and Brian and Austin Eckler. It's going to be awesome to watch. Now, he finished RB 29. He's still kind of that Jonathan Taylor type, miss a couple games here and there. He missed 3 games, right? So when you're looking at a guy that's going to average 11.4 fantasy points, in an offense that wasn't supposed to be this good, wasn't supposed to win a playoff game, it's going to get better next year. Yes. Do I think Austin Eckler, is still going to stay there? Could they add some running back pieces? They could. I still like Brian Robinson as kind of a mid-tier running back 2 in Dynasty if you want to acquire. I'm not selling. I'm not really buying, but if you own him, you're kind of holding kind of look right now is what it looks like with him. Number 22. Man, my redraft guy, Tony Pollard. This man was hurt all last year for the Dallas Cowboys, and everyone wrote him off. They're like, oh, Tony Pollard, he's gone to the Titans. He's not going to do it. Tony Pollard had a phenomenal season, guys. He was running back 21 on the year. Obviously, he missed the last couple games with injury or was hampered by injuries. So week 15, he goes down in Cincy. Tries to play hurt in Indy the next week. Then he misses week 17. Then he plays week 18. He's still playing hurt through it. But when he was out there healthy, man, so if you look at let's go, I'll just do it while we're at it. Let's go weeks 1 to 14 here. Look where Tony Pollard was at instead of the season, right? So Tony Pollard was running back 17 all the way through. So a top 20 running back, which he wasn't drafted like it. Are the Tennessee Titans going to be looking for a quarterback? Yes, they are, of course, right? Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, that doesn't look like the answer. So I expect them to go get Cam Ward with the first pick. That's what I think is going to happen, but we'll get to that in later videos. Will that help the RPO game? Yes. Is he 27, turning 28? Yes. He's still kind of a scat back running back that can be used till age 30, though. So, and you don't have to use much to acquire him. I would say, maybe an early second, mid-second, or, a second and some trade-up pieces that are younger. And that'd be an easy way to acquire Tony Pollard, who's going to be a solid starting running back next year for the Titans. Number 23, DeAndre Swift. The Chicago Bears were just hampered by the coaching staff, man. This is what we said in all of our videos before the season started. That's why I thought Caleb Williams was an absolute struggle, because I just didn't like Washington. I didn't like the staff they had out there. I hope they get Ben Johnson or figure out, I don't want to see Mike McCarthy maybe, or Kellen Moore or something like that. Get them an offensive-minded piece here, and it will help. And when you're looking at DeAndre Swift, I mean, he was, during his stretch, he was balling. Like week 4 to week 8, he was averaging 23 fantasy points a game. And then it's like a roller coaster ride. It just, he's never the red zone back. Roshan Johnson gets those carries. He still gets, 10 plus carries a game with the receiving work upside. That's all great. It just depends on me for the Bears offense. He does have a great contract. He's got 2 more years left on his contract. So you have to like that. He is 26, but again, he's like a scat back, kind of like Tony Pollard. So age can last longer with receiving backs, as they don't take as much work and they don't get as much carry. So I'm like, he's RB2 in the middle. If you can acquire him for the same kind of price you can for Tony Pollard, I would do the same thing there. Number 24, James Conner. Just absolutely silenced everyone that was talking about Trey Benson last year, right? Trey Benson and Blake Corum and all these rookies. I tried to tell you guys they weren't going to do anything, man. These are the tier 1 running backs, even though he's older. So James Conner's 29, heading into 30. He was absolutely destroying fantasy football before, the last 2 weeks of the season here. So if you're looking at James Conner on the year, he was RB 11 and he was 253 points. So he was literally 13 points off of a top 8 running back, and he missed the last 2 games, which he'd gotten 13 points in 2 games of very easy versus the Rams and San Francisco 49ers if he was out there healthy. And he even tried to fight through it. He went out there for that game and tried to play. I love the heart that he has. Now, he gets a 2-year extension on top of it. So is it scary with him heading into age 30? Yes, that's why I have him low. Will I still draft him and redraft at value? 100%. If I was a contending team, would I spend a mid-second, maybe a late third or something like that to acquire him because the owner probably has him and doesn't want him because I think he's old? Of course I would. That's exactly what I'd be trying to do right now if he was available to a team that didn't want him. And especially if I have Trey Benson too, then I'm trying to acquire him even more. Heading down to tier 5, the comeback player of the year to me, J.K. Dobbins, man. This guy, you can look at my videos during the season. I was like, do not draft this guy. Do not draft this guy. He's always hurt. He's been hurt his entire career. And he just came out and shut me up real quick. So now, when you're looking at him, they put him on a very small contract coming in because he didn't really use a prove-it contract, right? Now you have Harbaugh. Now you saw all the stats of the playoffs games. If you watched them, you saw all the stats. Chargers offense with J.K. Dobbins, Chargers offense without J.K. Dobbins. It is terrible. And the Chargers need J.K. Dobbins. So that stretch where they missed him for 5 games, he still finished RB24. He had 191 points. So if I take 5 games of an average of what he's averaging, and he averaged 14.8, so let's add about 60 points to that, he would have been right around Jonathan Taylor at 244, 245, 250 points, and he'd have been a top 13 to 15 running back. So, yeah, the injury is always, a scare with him. He hit IR again, right? Looked good in the playoff game, even when he came back as well. So, heading into next year, I really still like J.K. Dobbins. He just carries a very high injury risk with me. That's why I have him so low. Number 26, Rondre Stevenson. And, man, they need to add some help for the New England Patriots big time. So, you have Drake May. They have 0 weapons at wide receiver. They don't know what they're doing at running back sometimes. They're going to get a new head coach coming into town here. It looks like it's going to be Vrabel with the connections he has to the Patriots. But still, he's 26 years old, gets his contract extension. Rondre Stevenson is still going to be a good running back, and you can probably get him for a 2nd or 3rd right now. That's what I'd be trying to do to acquire him. Now, these next 2 here, I'm going to rank them. I'm going to put them both up here. I'm going to do Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. So I don't understand what Pittsburgh is doing. Najee Harris has 4 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. It looks like they don't want him back. Now, if Najee is gone and Jaylen Warren is the guy and they don't bring in anybody in the draft, Jaylen Warren's stock goes way up. If Najee Harris gets traded to the Cowboys, right, you can see Jerry Jones doing something like that, something weird where they don't get a chance at Ginty and they go get Najee Harris, his stock goes way up, right? It's just Arthur Smith. He's the problem every single time with every single running back situation. If you look back at last year with Bijan Robinson, Arthur Smith just kills the running backs with the way that he splits the ball out. I just don't like it. I hate to say it, but it's just rough. Najee is 26. He will be turning 27 this year. So you have about a 1 to 2, possibly 3-year window, depending on how big he is, if he can stay like Derrick Henry or not. So, these are tough ones because I just don't know how it's going to play out yet. But Jaylen Warren's stock would go up if Najee was out. And if Najee's traded, if Najee's out of Pittsburgh and if Najee's traded to a spot where he's RB1, his stock would go up as well. So 2 things to look at there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Number 28 and number 35. And I cannot explain to you Travis Etienne's season at all. He was drafted as ADP about round 2. And I took him in a couple drafts. And boy, it did not pay off, man. Travis Etienne had a terrible year this year. Tank Bigsby started to take the job from him. And you have to think about it like this. Travis Etienne's entire season this year, he did not have a single game with 15 fantasy points, guys. Not one game. That is absolutely bonkers. And you go back and look at last year, he had one game over 15, a game over 30, a game over 20, 20, 30, 17, 17, 29, 17. So Jacksonville just completely shambled, went the other way. I don't know what happened. Maybe some in-house stuff. I haven't heard anything. He's still 25 years old. Now, when you look at Tank Bigsby, who kind of took the job from him, not really a receiving back in the way that, you want a receiving back to be, but he's 22 years old. So if Travis, this is like a Pittsburgh Steelers situation here. Travis Etienne somehow is out of Jacksonville. You got a 22-year-old Tank Bigsby. You're sitting pretty, right? Then Tank Bigsby shoots up the board, right? And if Etienne could be a Najee Harris situation, if he goes to Dallas Cowboys, he shoots up the board, right? So these are the early rankings to these, but I'm breaking it down, best way I can, best scenario, thinking about it without having the rookies in. So, it is early. I will update these as we get farther into the season. Number 29, and this one, Rico Dowdle. And if you know Jerry Jones, he just doesn't like to listen to the media, right? Everyone in the world wants Ashton Jeanty to be a Dallas Cowboy right now with the 13th pick, or possibly trade up, right? Because it might take that to get GT. But Rico Dowdle was not a bad running back, guys. He was very, very good, actually. He was running back 23 on the season. And when you look at it, that's running back 23 on the season when he never played over 50% of the snaps till week 9. So 44, 43, 46, 45. Never even saw over 11 carries till week 5. That's when he popped against Pittsburgh. And then the next week against Detroit, he had 5 carries. So they didn't even really know what they had yet. Then you hit week 9, and then he explodes onto the scene. And when I said Travis Etienne did not have a 15-point game, Rico Dowdle had 5 of them. So, that's just one way to look at it. And you're in the Cowboys offense. If they can't acquire GT and Dowdle stays there, his value goes up, right? But right now, I'm putting it as the Dallas Cowboys are going to be looking to acquire a running back. And I do hope it's GT, man, just for the sake of fantasy football. Number 30, the guy that I didn't want to draft and redraft at all. He definitely survived more than I thought, I guess you could say, with Aaron Jones at age 30. This guy has so many injuries throughout his career. I'm more impressed with Aaron Jones. He got hurt in week 5, right? Then he had the bye, so it kind of helped him. And then he didn't get hurt the rest of the season. Oh, I don't have the statistics, but I don't know the last time Aaron Jones has played a full season, but he did play limited here and there. They used Cam Akers, to split him in and out because they had a winning record. So I get all of that. But when I'm looking at Aaron Jones, 31 years old, do I want to own this guy moving forward? No, not at all. Not a chance for me. I'm trying to get out every single way I can. If I can get, a mid-second, with a third or something, or mid-second, fourth, I'm taking it. He was RB14 on the year. Yeah, still a top 15 running back, but heading into age 31. And he got nicked up in so many games, just didn't have that big injury. I'm staying away from Aaron Jones as much as I can. Number 32 is going to be Zack Charbonnet. And with Zack Charbonnet, I used to have a thing like he couldn't be the guy when he gets the opportunity because his rookie season, he wasn't the guy, right? He didn't really do much when he had the chances. Now this year, when he got the chances when Kenneth Walker was out, he improved a lot from his rookie year. His vision, his burst, the way he sees the whole. Look at what happened. I could bring up Travis Etienne again here. He had, in the first 3 weeks of the season, he had 2 15-plus point games with a 25-point game, and Etienne never hit one. So, Kenneth Walker is always that injury, like I talked about with like Jonathan Taylor. They're always going to miss 3 to 4 games. Charbonnet is still 24 years old. I get that. He could drop a 40-point game. Zack Charbonnet, I'm still going to keep as running back 32. And if I own Kenneth Walker, I'm definitely trying to acquire Zack Charbonnet. Running back number 33 is going to be Rashad White, and it looks really, really rough for him. And there's the wife in the background. What's up, babe? Hi. So he's lost the job to Bucky. He's heading to free agency in 2026. He has one more year at Tampa. You saw how they used him in the playoff game. Doesn't look good. The only hope that Rashad White would really have would be if they try to trade him before his contract next year, right? So could that be a possibility? He would fit the Saints offense to me perfectly. He's kind of like Alvin Kamara back. Receiving is what he does. Just a thought there in my mind. That's it. That's it on him. I mean, it all depends on landing spot for him from here on out because Bucky is the guy. Now, number 34, this is one of the interesting ones to me. If you know Sean Payton and you follow football, Sean Payton likes the guys that he drafts. So when he came in, he acquired Javonte Williams, he acquired Jaleel McLaughlin, didn't draft those guys. Drafted Audric Estime. You saw him get a little more work down the stretch. Now, Audric Estime out of Notre Dame was bully ball running back, right? Big boy, beast mode running back. He's only 21 years old. There's so much room to improve. They got him at a very cheap draft pick. The Broncos impressed me. I did not think they'd be a playoff team. Bo Nix was absolute lights out. And if Audric Estime is the guy from 21 years old right now, you can put him up around 17, 18 by Chuba Hubbard in ranking for me because you're looking at a 21-year-old back and an offense that's improving and a team that's getting better and better with Bo Nix. So this is a ranking right now based on, I don't know how it's going to go because look at the Denver running back room this year, right? Everyone tried to tell me Javonte Williams is going to ball out. Javonte Williams was never a draft pick of mine. And Audric Estime, if he gets the job, he will be. Again, we got to wait and see here. Number 36, Tyjae, the concussion man Spears. So he looked great, right? He had his 2 games where he popped off at the end there. I mean, you still have Tony Pollard is 27, Tyjae Spears is 23. Will he ever be the full 3-down workhorse back? No. But he can be a 60% great receiving back that can give you 10-plus points a game. Because look what he did down the stretch in week 15, 16, and 17 when Tony Pollard was injured. Like I said, he went for 28, 21, and 14 points. Those are great numbers. He had a 5-touchdown span in that run. Now, the Tennessee Titans offense next year, when you're thinking about Tyjae Spears, how many games do you think they're going to be ahead if they draft a rookie Cam Ward, right? Could he be the Jaden Daniels type? Maybe. Do I see them as a playoff team? No, I do not. Are they playing from behind where they pass a lot more and that's Tyjae Spears' strength? Yes, it is. So I have him at 36. Obviously, it's at the bottom, but still, he's only 23 years old. So I still have a little bit of hope there for Tyjae Spears left because he's super young. And remember, guys, the 5 rookies at the bottom, I will start to add the rookies in as we draw farther into the season. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is my early 2025 Dynasty running back rankings. Again, as the draft comes and free agency and players move, a lot of moving parts are still going to happen. I will update this as we go. If you guys have any Dynasty trade questions or anything like that down below and you want to drop them in, remember, I'll answer all of them, but I try and stay away from the drafts as much as I can until about the NFL draft is over or free agency starts to move a little bit, because you can either hit a big strike gold value and hit big, or you can really lose big in value. So a lot of things to think about there. Now, before we head out, guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Tomorrow, I will be live doing a divisional 2-round playoff preview, and I will also be giving away that $100 for the giveaway for everyone that nailed the round, or for whoever nailed the round 1 scores altogether from the post. Don't go and try and comment on that post now. I know all the comments that are there. That's it for me, guys. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Sleazeball out.